Okay, we're going to the section on meditation and hypnosis. The two types of meditation that your book discusses are transcendental meditation and mindfulness meditation, and there are the definitions. It's interesting to note that here's the general definition of meditation: a mental series of exercises meant to refocus attention and achieve a trance-like state of consciousness. Meditation can produce a state of relaxation that can aid in coping with the physiological reactions to a stressful situation. So you ask yourself the question, have you ever found yourself staring out into space or at some little spot on the wall or table, only to realize that your mind has seemed completely blank for the last several minutes? The state just described is really nothing more than concentrated meditation, which is a form of meditation best known to the general public. Research shows that concentrative meditation is a helpful way to relax and lower blood pressure. The advantage of meditation is that people can do it almost anywhere, even in the classroom just before a big test. Other research has suggested that concentrated meditation can reduce the levels of chronic pain and reduce the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and hostility. Another kind of meditation is less well known and not as easily achieved. It's called receptive meditation and involves trying to expand your consciousness outward. The best description of what this is like is to think about a time when you were awed by nature. Perhaps you were standing at the ocean's edge on a starry night and suddenly became aware of how vast the universe really is. Or perhaps you were walking in the woods and listening to all the little sounds of the birds and animals surrounding you. Your attention was focused outward rather than inward, and this is similar to the state that this type of meditation tries to achieve. Regardless of which form of meditation people choose to try, the effects are similar. Meditation for only 20 minutes can produce lowered blood pressure in people with hypertension. It can calm anxiety. It can help people get to sleep and help people deal with stress. Here's the list from your textbook as to why you meditate. The next is hypnosis. Hypnosis. How does hypnosis work, and why is it controversial? Hypnosis is from the Greek word hypnos, meaning sleep. It's a state of consciousness in which a person is especially susceptible to suggestion. There are several key steps in inducing hypnosis. According to Druckmann, although every hypnotist may have a different style or use different words, these 4 steps are always present. 1. The hypnotist tells the person to focus on what is being said. 2. The person is told to relax and feel tired. 3. The hypnotist tells the person to let go and accept suggestions easily. And 4. The person is told to use vivid imagination. The real key to hypnosis seems to be a heightened state of suggestibility. People can be hypnotized when active and alert, but only if they are willing to be hypnotized. Only 80% of all people can be hypnotized, and only 40% are good hypnotic subjects. People who fantasize a lot, who daydream, have vivid imaginations, as well as people who get really into whatever task they are doing, are more susceptible to hypnosis than others. What can hypnosis really do? Is it true that people can be hypnotized into doing things that they would never do under normal conditions? Books, movies, and television programs have often misrepresented the effects of hypnosis. Although the popular view is that the hypnotized person is acting involuntarily, the fact is that the hypnotized person is really the one in control. In fact, the hypnotist may only be a guide into a more relaxed state, while the subject actually hypnotizes himself or herself. People cannot be hypnotized against their will. In general, hypnosis is a way to help people relax and control pain. These subjective experiences are very much under people's mental influence. Actual physical behavior is harder to change, and that is why hypnosis is not as effective at changing eating habits or helping people to stop smoking. Hypnosis is sometimes used in psychological therapy to help people cope with anxiety or deal with cravings for food or drugs. There are two views of why hypnosis works. One emphasizes the role of dissociation, or a splitting of conscious awareness, whereas the other involves a kind of social role-playing, known as social cognition explanation. What hypnosis can do. It can create amnesia of whatever happens during the hypnotic session, at least for a brief time. It can relieve pain by allowing a person to remove conscious attention from the pain. It can, after sensory perception, smell, hearing, vision, time sense, and the ability to see visual illusions can all be affected by hypnosis. They can be altered. It can help people relax in situations that normally would cause them stress, such as flying on an airplane. What hypnosis cannot do. Hypnosis cannot give people superhuman strength. It cannot reliably enhance memory. It cannot regress people back to childhood. It cannot regress people to some past life. There's no scientific evidence for past life regression. As we mentioned earlier, there is such a thing as hypnosis as dissociation. Ernest Hilgard believed hypnosis works on the immediate conscious mind, while another part of the mind, the hidden observer, is aware of what is going on. Hypnosis as social role-playing, the social cognitive explanation, means the person being hypnotized inadvertently plays a role in which he or she carries out his or her own expectations for how a hypnotized person would behave. Hypnotic experiences and theories. Role-playing model, a trance state, which goes along also with meditation, neo-dissociation theory, which I just gave you, and the characteristics of highly hypnotizable people. The next section deals with altering consciousness through drugs. When does drug use cross the line from use to abuse and dependence? What are depressants, stimulants, hallucinogens? What factors contribute to alcohol and drug abuse problems? What treatment alternatives are available to help people with drug problems? The first one is psychoactive drugs. Sorry. Okay. Major categories of psychoactive drugs. Psychoactive drugs are chemical substances that act on the brain to affect emotional or mental state. They're used for a variety of reasons, and the lists are there for you. Okay? All right. There are major categories of psychotic or psychoactive drugs. There are stimulants, which increase the function of the nervous system by causing neurons to fire more rapidly, causing the heart to beat and the brain to work faster. There are depressants, which decrease the function of the nervous system. There are narcotics, opium-related drugs that suppress pain. There are hallucinogenics. They produce hallucinations or increase feelings of relaxation and intoxication. Okay. Drug abuse. All right. And then polyabusers. Drug dependence. Okay. There can be physiological dependence. Okay. Signs include withdrawal syndrome and tolerance. All right. Okay. If you think about it, all right, as far as dependence is concerned, and we can be, we can be as specific or as general as possible, all right, but the effects of psychoactive drugs are what we might want to look at here in the psychological dependence and in the physical dependence. Excuse me. Okay? Drugs that people can become physically dependent on cause the user's body to crave the drug. After using the drug for some period of time, the body becomes unable to function normally without the drug, and the person is said to be dependent or addicted, a condition commonly called physical dependence, but also can refer to psychological dependence. Okay? Psychoactive drugs interfere with neurons and transmitters. Some drugs are antagonists, blocking effects of neurotransmitters. Others are agonists, enhancing neurotransmitters' effect. Alcohol interferes with neurotransmitters, controlling muscles and movement, all right? And cocaine enhances neurotransmitters that control mood, causing euphoria. The effects of the psychoactive drug, the physical dependence, all right? A sign of physical dependence is the development of a drug tolerance. As the person continues to use the drug, larger and larger doses of the drug are needed to achieve the same initial effects. Another sign of physical dependence is that the user experiences symptoms of withdrawal when deprived of the drug. Depending on the drug, these symptoms can range from headaches, nausea, and irritability to severe pain, cramping, shaking, and dangerously elevated blood pressure. These physical sensations occur because the body is trying to adjust to the absence of the drug. Many users will take more of the drug to alleviate the symptoms of withdrawal, which makes the entire situation worse. But not all drugs produce physical dependence. For example, some people say that you can't get physically dependent on marijuana. If that's true, all right, why is it hard for people to quit smoking pot? Not all drugs cause physical dependence. Some cause psychological dependence, or the belief that the drug is needed to continue a feeling of emotional or psychological well-being, which is a very powerful factor in continued drug use. The body may not need or crave the drug, and people may not experience the symptoms of physical withdrawal or tolerance, but they will continue to use the drug because they think they need it. In this case, it is the rewarding properties of using the drug that cause a dependency to develop. Although not all drugs produce physical dependence, any drug can become a focus of psychological dependence. Psychological dependencies can last forever. Some people who gave up smoking pot decades ago still say that the craving returns every now and then. Depressants are another class of psychoactive drugs. They're drugs that slow or inhibit neuron functioning in the central nervous system. Commonly known as the major tranquilizers, drugs that have a strong depressant effect, or sleeping pills. Barbiturates are drugs that have a sedative or sleep-inducing effect. The effects, depending on dosage levels, range from mild sedation or sleepiness to unconsciousness or coma. Overdoses can lead to death as breathing and heart action are stopped. Barbiturates are highly addictive, and users can quickly develop a tolerance to them. Alcohol. The most commonly used and absurd depressant is alcohol, the chemical resulting from fermentation or distillation of various kinds of vegetable matter. Anywhere from 10 to 20 million people in the United States alone suffer from alcoholism. Aside from the obvious health risks to the liver, brain, and heart, alcohol is associated with loss of work time, loss of job, loss of economic stability, and loss of strong family relationships. According to the National Center for Health Statistics, the number of alcohol-induced deaths in 2003 was 20,687. Of these deaths, 12,360 were attributed to liver disease. Alcohol was involved in nearly 22.5% of the fatal traffic crashes for drivers under 21 and 24.8% of the fatal crashes for those over 21. Pregnant women should not drink at all, as alcohol can damage the growing embryo, causing mental retardation and physical deformity. Heart disease has also been linked to alcoholism. Alcohol has the effect of depressing inhibitions, which are the social rules people have learned that allow them to function in society. This means that when people drink alcohol, they are more likely to do things they'd never do when not under the influence of alcohol. In addition, motor skills, reaction time, and speech are all negatively affected by alcohol consumption. Aside from its health risks and physical dangers, alcohol can have serious and devastating financial and legal consequences for those who use it illegally or irresponsibly. Binge drinking is defined as having 5 or more drinks in one occasion. A nationwide survey showed that 13% of 8th graders, 25% of 10th graders, and 30% of 12th graders said they had participated in binge drinking within 2 weeks prior to the survey. What dangers does binge drinking pose for teens? I think you can answer that yourself. That's an old chart, but it's still good to look at. Okay. Some more information on alcoholism, which fits about what we're talking about here and what I've just explained. Use among college students. Binge drinking. Alcohol on campuses. Signs of alcohol overdose. Barbiturates. Okay, we've mentioned them before. Highly addictive, used illicitly. Those are the examples. They're sedating drugs. Overdoses can lead to convulsions, coma, and death, especially if you mix it with alcohol. Tranquilizers, very similar. Okay. Opiates are a narcotic. Okay. Opium comes from the poppy and has pain relieving and euphoric properties. It's very addicting. Produces a euphoric rush. It can be used as a painkiller and is often used as a painkiller with people who have certain types of diseases or terminal illnesses. Stimulants heighten the activity of the nervous system. Example, okay? Let's talk about a few stimulants, all right? In simple terms, stimulants speed up the nervous system by causing neurons to fire more rapidly. These are called uppers for a reason. Let's go back. All right, let's mention a few. Amphetamines. Amphetamines are synthesized, made in laboratories rather than being found in nature. They're stimulants. Truck drivers, shift workers, students report use of amphetamines to stay awake for long hours, and many doctors prescribe these drugs as diet pills for overweight people, but only on a short-term basis and under strict medical supervision. Amphetamines cause the neurons of the sympathetic nervous system to go into overdrive. Stimulants cause people to burn up whatever energy reserves they have. When the energy reserves are exhausted or the drug wears off, a crash is inevitable. This is why people who take amphetamines quickly develop a drug tolerance, meaning they have adapted to the drug and no longer experience an effect from taking a small amount. When the crash or depression comes, the tendency is to take more pills to get back up. The person taking these pills finds that it takes more and more pills to get the same stimulant effect. Doses can easily become toxic and deadly. Nausea, vomiting, high blood pressure, and strokes are possible, and addicts can become delusional, losing contact with what is real, and paranoid, thinking people are out to get them. Violence is a likely outcome, both against the self and other people. Unlike amphetamine, cocaine is a natural drug found in coca plant leaves. It produces feelings of euphoria, energy, power, and pleasure. It also deadens pain and suppresses the appetite. Many years ago, cocaine was thought to be a wonder drug, and people like Sigmund Freud used it as a painkiller. Once Freud became aware of the drug's addictive qualities, however, he stopped using it immediately and began to write about the harmful properties of cocaine. It's a highly dangerous drug. Some people have convulsions and may even die when using cocaine for the first time. Cocaine has devastating effects on the children born to mothers who use it, causing learning disabilities, hyperactivity, delayed language development, and tremors, among other symptoms. Although cocaine users do not go through the same kind of physical withdrawal symptoms that users of heroin, alcohol, and other physically addictive drugs go through, users will experience a severe mood swing into depression, that's the crash, followed by extreme tiredness, nervousness, and inability to feel pleasure and paranoia. As addictive as cocaine is, there's one other stimulant that comes in at a very close second, and that's nicotine. The Surgeon General reports that nicotine produces addiction in 99% of the people who use it. Nicotine is a relatively mild but nevertheless toxic stimulant, producing a slight rush or sense of arousal as it raises blood pressure and accelerates the heart, as well as providing a rush of sugar into the bloodstream. As is the case with many stimulants, it also has a relaxing effect on most people and seems to reduce stress. Although the amount of nicotine in a cigarette is low, first-time smokers often experience nausea as a result of the toxic effects after just a few puffs. Nicotine use, combined with other harmful additives found in cigarettes, can lead to health problems in many parts of the body, including the lungs, heart, and brain. Every year, nearly 438,000 people in the United States die from illnesses related to smoking. Quitting is a good idea, but hard to accomplish for many people. The majority of people who quit will start smoking again, even after having quit for many years. Why is it difficult to quit? In terms of its addictive power, nicotine is more powerful than heroin or alcohol. The physical withdrawal symptoms can be as bad as those resulting from alcohol, cocaine, or heroin abuse. Medications can help smokers deal with the cravings for nicotine while they try to quit, as well as nicotine-containing gums and patches that deliver the drug in a much lower dose, allowing the smoker to control the cravings until quitting completely. One stimulant that many people use every day is caffeine, the stimulant found in coffee, tea, most sodas, energy drinks, chocolate, and even many over-the-counter drugs. Caffeine is another natural substance like cocaine and nicotine, and is found in coffee beans, tea leaves, cocoa nuts, and at least 60 other types of plants. It is a mild stimulus, helps maintain alertness, and can increase the effectiveness of some pain relievers such as aspirin. Caffeine is often added to pain relievers for that reason, and is the key ingredient in medications meant to keep people awake. Negative effects of caffeine include insomnia and even anxiety when taken in large doses. Amphetamines, cocaine, ecstasy, very similar to heroin, nicotine, caffeine. Hallucinogens. Hallucinogens cause the brain to alter its interpretation of sensations so that sensations cross over each other. Colors have sounds, sounds have smells, and so on. False sensory perceptions, called hallucinations, are often experienced, especially with the more powerful hallucinogens. Several hallucinogens were developed in the laboratory instead of being found in nature. Perhaps because these drugs are manufactured, they are often more potent than drugs found in the real world or in the natural world. Three synthetically created hallucinogens are LSD, PCP, and MDMA. Three naturally occurring hallucinogens are mescaline, psilocybin, and marijuana. Social and cultural factors about understanding drug abuse. Drug use, unfortunately, remains an all too common problem in today's society. In many cases, people use drugs partly to deal with pressures from the outside world. Some of these pressures are psychological, such as people suffering from depression, anxiety, anger, or insomnia, and they turn to drugs because of feelings of hopelessness. Some are external forces that play a role. Among teenagers in particular, peer pressure can lead to experimentation with drugs. If a teen's friends are using drugs, their teen will be more likely to end up using them too. They may use drugs because they think it will make them more popular. Alcohol and other drugs are often found at parties and other social gatherings, which increases the pressure on teenagers to fit in with the crowd. By the same token, if a teen's friends stop using drugs, that teen will be more likely to stop using them too. Alcohol and drug use also decreases when people marry and have children. They no longer want to take part in such risky behavior now that they have a responsibility to a family. Culture also plays a role in substance use and abuse. For example, in some areas of the United States, the use of medical marijuana is permitted, and now even recreational marijuana. It becomes a pastime. In Scotland, drinking whiskey is considered socially acceptable and a national pastime, while drinking is forbidden in Islamic cultures such as Pakistan, Qatar, and Sudan. Some cultures may incorporate the use of drugs into religious rituals and ceremonies, while others strictly forbid the use of any such substance. Psychoactive drugs can have a very harmful impact on people's health and well-being. Although peer influence may sometimes seem intimidating, it is important to make an extra effort to resist these social pressures. The negative consequences of drug use can be devastating and even deadly. Ethnicity and drug use. Those are old charts. And then there's a section in your book on detoxing and drug treatment, therapy, therapeutic drugs. And then there's an application module that tells you how to get healthy sleep habits, and then write just some visuals. This interesting visual here with how cocaine works in the brain. Ecstasy, very popular drug that's put into drinks by some people at college parties. And LSD. And what's wrong with this picture? You tell me. The end.